Hello and welcome to Shy Talk, an Irish history podcast.
Goddamn right. And it's now an international podcast because we recorded this episode in Amsterdam.
Now, we have recorded the podcast in other countries as well.
Have we?
Mm-hmm. The North.
I was going to say, if you bring up, how dare you? We're doing a grand northern tour actually starting tomorrow. And I don't consider it leaving the country. Now, obviously, I'm going to bring my passport just in case. You
never know.
Yeah, I got to change money. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking we'll play it kind of like a good cop, bad cop. Do you know?
Yeah.
I'd be the good cop, respectable, southern.
Yeah.
You'd be the dirty, northern, PSNI loving.
Out for the RUC. Yeah. Sleeper agent for MI5. Okay.
How did we get on to this? We were in Amsterdam recording an episode about Vermeer, the painter.
We've also been trying to do this intro for literally an hour. But it's short and sweet. We met a man that we've been a fan of from afar for a good while. We came across him due to similarities in the name. Cork fella by the name of Ronan Brosnan.
Or
Shite Guides.
The Delivery Boy.
The Delivery Boy. Now, of those three names, it was Shite Guides that was the most similar to us.
That's very true.
Yeah. But lovely man. We got the opportunity to meet him over in Amsterdam. Got to see him gig. Did a gig with him.
In a park.
In a park.
He had a pint of Guinness in his hand. In a glass.
He did, in a glass. In an outdoor area.
It was like he sprung up from a portal that just sent you to Cork.
Yeah. It was
like that TV show Foreign Exchange. Remember that? With the Australian boy and the Irish girl in boarding school.
Yeah.
And they both had a portal that would transfer them to the other end of the world.
No.
He did that from Cork in the 1840s.
He did.
To modern Amsterdam.
It was actually beautiful to see him in motion, going around the park, shaking hands with his pint. It was like, this is why Irish tourism is doing well. But
a great man.
And we went back to his apartment and recorded this episode. Ronan had suggested this episode. Johannes Vermeer, very famous Dutch painter, had his paintings stolen several times over the decades. A lot of them by Irish people.
That's where we stepped in. Oh, and also go follow our Patreon. We've got we've got a bunch more content up there, more on the way, because we won't be releasing many episodes on the regular feed until the next season. We'll still do the odd one, but we will have more coming in like August, September.
Yes, if you're missing the show, go sign up to the Patreon. Listen to all the stuff we've got there. Cowboy specials, the Film Club episodes.
Live episodes.
I just finished editing an episode of the Film Club where we watched Philadelphia, Here I Come with Matthew Tallon.
New York's finest.
New York's new finest. It was the day before he moved to America. So it took a while to edit that episode because it was very sentimental and emotional because we'd just been drinking and watching a film about a young Irish man who's struggling with emigration. It was an interesting episode. But
you know what else is an interesting episode? This Vermeer episode. Yes.
So yeah, Instagram, Patreon. Myself and Jason now run a comedy club in Dublin as well. But
there's that. That's good news.
Yeah.
The Halfpenny Inn, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Sundays. Come down for the laughs.
Did you ever hear of the Halfpenny Bridge? It's like that, but it's a comedy club. But yeah, what about the time the fucking Irish robbed a load of Dutch paintings?
Class.
Excellent. Well, enjoy the episode. Oh, also, there'll be links to Ronan stuff in the description. Go follow all that, and we'll chat to you soon.
Yeah, chapter.
Gather around now, you're in for a story. Old tales of lore, all in search of a glory. The history and mystery of lads, lasses and all. Discoveries and voyages, the rise and the fall. Follow me now as we go back in time. We trace the steps of Irish heritage to find. Joseph from Carlisle and Kevin from Dawn. Guide you through the ways of Shire.
But then we went there and then we stumbled across a record shop / barber place
that had an art showing.
I don't know what they were doing, but
it's called Cutthroat.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, there's I went for an interview there, and some Irish girl actually runs it.
Oh.
Did they have €1 beers? Because when we were there, they had €1 beers.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, must be a different one.
Well, I think there was some launch of something. To be honest, they were probably telling us, and we were like, yeah, €1 Heineken. Yeah, it's 6 more there.
Oh, was it a kind of Art Depot-y kind of?
It was actually right. It was in that square in front of West Park. There was a fountain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a one night only kind of job.
Right.
Hey, do you know what we should do?
What?
Introduce our guest.
Oh yeah. Well, he's a man that needs no introduction, apart from this one. Well, it's someone we found him through a mutual use of the word shite. It's the man behind Shite Guides, and more recently, the Beats delivery boy.
Yeah, D Beats.
D Beats.
He's the producer.
Yeah.
He's back in Ireland.
Oh, I kind of just assumed that was you. But the man behind all the projects, it's Ronan Brosnan.
Yes, it's I.
Yes.
Got the two boys from Shite Talk up in the Shite House.
Yes.
But it's a lovely house.
It is a great house. You've got some fine works of art here on the back. What's the running theme here?
They were just old calendars I had, and then I had no money for my art budget. That's Klimt.
Yes, I'm pretty sure if you Google painting, this is what comes up.
Yeah,
I think it actually is the.
And then the lady above it is Franz Gall. That's a custom made calendar I stayed in 2018 to make. And my French, she's a singer from France in the 60s.
Yeah.
My French friend called me out for that one up top because he knew that she was 16 when that record was released. So he called me out for having a 16-year-old girl on my wall. I was trying to tell her, man, she died of old age 2 years ago. So I think
so you're probably.
I don't think it's that problematic.
No, I mean.
You say that now, but we might cut that out from the podcast.
yeah. That'd probably for the best.
No, that's gold. That's the best part is that it really translates into an audio medium.
Yeah.
Look at our calendars.
Comedian with a problematic taste in young women.
But
something new anyway.
It's something different. You got to set yourself apart. So you're a Cork man who's been living over here in Amsterdam for several years.
5 or 6 years from one swamp to another.
Yes, yeah. Although, were you Cork City or?
Cork City.
My brother's living in Cork now, and he fucking loves the place.
It's alright, yeah. Cork's alright. It's a bit run down. It could do with a lick of paint now. Anytime I go back.
It's taken off now. Yeah, I saw a man get last in Cork about 3
nice.
weeks ago. Yeah, it was pretty. To be honest, I enjoyed that because it softened my brother's cough a wee bit. That shut him up about Cork for a couple of days anyway.
Yeah, we're just like Dublin now. We've got all the amenities.
Yeah, all the but West Cork is the real. It's the real Cork.
Yeah, West Cork is unbelievable. Yeah. There's even Dutch people here. A lot of them, when they find out I'm from Cork, they start talking to me about West Cork. They know it from the podcast about
about Sophie Descon de Blantier.
Yeah. About,
Ian Bailey.
Yeah. That.
Yeah. Say what you will about him. He's done more for Cork tourism than anyone since Michael Collins, I'd say.
Yeah, he's one of the lads. He's one of the rabble rousers.
He put West Cork on the map.
He did, yeah. He put West Cork on the map, and whatever about his past, I'm thankful to him for that.
Yes,
he's famous in Asia as well. He had a record. It's called a North Korean Bailey Soul Survivor.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a big hit.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah,
not as big as the one he did in Cork.
Not as big. Yeah. See, I can't use that joke in Amsterdam. No one knows.
We all did a gig in the park on Saturday. It was nice. Sun was shining. A very rare event here. Something the Netherlands has in common with Ireland for sure.
Yeah, you brought down your own Guinness glass.
Big
respect.
Yeah.
I've been known to cycle around the place with this Guinness glass.
In your hand or in the backpack?
In the hand, yeah. I know that you're allowed drink on the street if you look responsible.
Yeah, that seems to be. You can get away with a lot if you just look responsible and or cheeky.
Yeah, there's only one law in this country really, in the whole of the Netherlands. You can kind of do anything you want as long as you're not loud. Yeah, their main problem here is with the British tourists.
Yeah,
they call them the Kankerbrits.
The Kankerbrits.
Yeah, cancer British.
Oh, I have heard that before.
Yeah. And can they tell the difference between yourself and a British person?
They presume I'm English usually until I tell them I'm from Ireland, and then they say, "Oh yeah, the UK." Okay, I'm like right.
That's good. Yeah, they have a strange. They sort of did colonization, not the right way, but they did it. You know, they went to a lot of places and didn't touch as much. They kind of went places, said there's Australia, and then went home, and left just the British to go and take all the stuff.
Yeah, Van Diemen's Land.
Yeah,
there's actually a town close to Bussum, where that's named from. Yeah, so they're colonies.
Albert Van Diemen. No, Damien Van Diemen.
Damien Van Diemen.
Yeah, I think so, because I remember his name was fucking class.
Huh.
Damien like the devil. And demon.
No, wait, was
like
it
the devil?
Devil demon.
I remember it sounded like the sort of name that a 15-year-old would come up with in a comic book.
Huh.
And then they named it after Albert Tasman, who did the actual traveling.
Okay.
Tasmania.
I didn't look too into it.
We were doing an episode recently about a Monaghan man who ended up in Tasmania.
Oh.
And became a cannibal.
Gee, well, that's Monaghan for you, really.
That is, yeah. But, you know, all of that begrudged him. He made Monaghan. Yeah. But
Jesus.
We've
Zings.
I don't know. We're doing an episode about painting. We're doing an episode about Johannes Vermeer.
That's right. Yeah, you're in Amsterdam. Time to learn a little bit of culture.
A little bit of culture. This is another episode where I tried writing it and then found myself, because the crux of this story takes place in like the 70s and 80s, the 1970s and 80s, and I found myself reading about 1600 Baroque art to try and figure out what the hell's going on first.
Yeah, I made a video about Vermeer down in the town he was from.
Yeah,
in Delft. Yeah, not a whole lot of information about him. He's just like a mysterious man.
He's a handy man to write about, because even I love when it starts off with someone's story and they don't know, like they just have the year that he was born. I know he was baptized in Delft, so like we assume he lived his entire life in Delft, but sure, who knows?
Yeah, no, literally no one actually knows. I even watched a documentary about him earlier today. No one knows. It was only 300 years after he died that anyone paid any attention to him. He died completely broke, with 12 children, in total and utter obscurity. He was just known in Delft. And then some Dutch lad, whose name eludes me, made it his life's mission to track down all his artwork and bring it to the people.
And was so Vermeer, Dutch painter. So what I read in my crash course of like what is art this morning, after the Renaissance, all the Baroque artists try and separate themselves from like the old Renaissance style, which is funny to like think of what literally a lot of people consider art, and them at the time were like, this is fucking old bullshit, man, we gotta shake it up. So apparently they're all about warmer colors, bigger contrast of light and shadows, some other things that they probably teach 15-year-olds in art class now. The Baroque style. So he's born in 1632 in Delft. Becomes a painter in a new time in European art. So I guess before that, during the Renaissance, the only people commissioning art are like popes, bishops, royalty, and a lot of the paintings are either scenes from the Bible or scenes from like royal court. But after, in the 1600s, there's the 80 Years' War, modern day Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg revolt against Catholic Spain, which leads to the birth of the Dutch Republic in 1648, and a new class of lad with money in the merchant class. So because of the Dutch East India Trading Company, these lads are now filthy rich.
That's actually the richest company that ever existed on Earth.
Yeah.
They said if it was today, if in today's money, it would be worth 3 or 4 trillion. So I think the top 10 biggest companies on Earth today is equal to the Dutch East India Company.
It was big. It was massive.
They invented capitalism in this city.
They invented bonds. They invented the structure of finance.
You can actually go to the very room itself where they invented the stock market.
Yeah.
You can go and sit at the table where the lads sat down and said, how do we work this out?
So and fucking piss on it.
When the ships would leave Amsterdam to go off to get spice and slaves and all the good stuff, people didn't know when they'd be back. So if you put all your money into like one ship, you might not get a return for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So then they said, why don't we all put a little bit of money into each ship? So if that ship crashes, which they did a lot, or sink, at least we'll only have our debt will be divided, and from then on, the stock market was created.
Yeah, it's a smart idea, but I mean, they couldn't have seen, if you fast forward 400 years later, that some man living in the Americas would make a magic internet message that everyone would read about dogs, and then the price of an electric car would drop. It's gone too far, maybe, but I mean, it's got a good basis in ships. But because all these guys are getting filthy rich off the new stock market, it meant that there was a new class of lad that could pay for painters, become a patron of the arts.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to see pictures of God and, royal courts. I think a bit of it was because they were trying to pull away from the old Catholic Spain. But they wanted to see stuff that they understood. Paintings about, what about painting of a farm? What about windmills? What about a bunch of lads in the pub looking like old Dutchmen?
There's a lot of paintings like that, actually,
that's most
from
of
this
them.
era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty wild, yeah. People who are highly drunk, women of loose morals.
Yes.
And looser clothes.
Stuff people like.
Yeah.
You know?
You've seen it yourself. You've seen who my neighbours are downstairs.
Yes.
Any of the ladies working?
They were not.
No one was in the windows as we walked by.
No. So were you saying the other day you're in a blue light district?
It's red light district with some blue. So behind the house here, there's little streets. There's one large red light district that everybody knows, and then there's two smaller ones.
Yeah.
And this is one of the smaller ones. It's where the locals go.
It's the
locals.
locals.
You need to do your time in like the lower leagues. Is that here, and you can get promotion? We're
bringing you up to the
get top billing.
Bringing you up to the triple glazed windows next.
Yeah.
I would hope there'd be less human trafficking going on in this one.
Yeah.
I would hope. Because I know the main red light district is rife with human trafficking, continuing a long Dutch tradition.
Yeah, going all the way back to this period. But,
farm to window.
Yeah.
I believe is the correct term. You don't want to be messing around with that red light district. The additives, preservatives, and etc.
You wouldn't know. You
keep it clean.
Yeah, but this is when it all started. They were getting all the money off human trafficking, and they were using that money. They were spending it on pictures of cows and pictures of men that looked like them. Like Jan Steen is one of the masters of the Dutch period, and like you'd recognize a lot of his stuff. It's basically just crowded room, women, and one of his famous paintings is a man giving a woman a cock, and that was the height of comedy.
Oof.
And pretty good stuff. But probably the most famous painting from that period is Johannes Vermeer's Girl with Pearl Earring, or Girl with the Pearl Earring. You got the contrast of light and dark. It's a woman, bright colours. She's got a turban and a fancy pearl earring.
Mm-hmm.
No one had seen the like of it before. But that's the style. That was what he was famous for. But like a lot of lads, as you were saying at the start of this, he wasn't appreciated in his time. He died in 1675 at the age of 43. Broke as shit. His works rediscovered in the 1850s and is now considered one of the great artists of the Dutch Golden Age. But because he wasn't big at the time, no one was writing about him, and there's no real information about what his life was like. He didn't sign or date most of his work, and there's no notepads or sketches or anything. And apparently his style varies a good bit. He did a lot of different stuff. So there's no idea how many paintings he actually did. They reckon, and by they I mean, the 3 articles I wrote. Some are in the range of 50, and most people only agree on 34 of them actually being confirmed Vermeers. So he didn't do a lot.
Lazy
enough. 22 years, I think, of painting.
Yeah, did I say he did about 2 a year?
That's not great.
It's not huge. It's not and some of them are very small as well. If you've ever seen any of them, they can be very small, like smaller than A4.
Yeah, some barely paintings.
Johann, come on, man.
He died broke, but he wasn't really.
How about some Vermeer paintings from you?
There you
coming in hot and thick.
Yeah. He would have been red in the face if you would have said that to him.
But on the other side of his face, it probably would have been offset by a darker red.
Yeah, it would have been a beautiful moment. But I mean, he lived through. I think there was like a plague, and he did a painting of an explosion. I didn't really read too much about that. At one point, the Delft blew up.
It blew up. Yeah.
He wasn't like the happiest of lives. He lived all through the Dutch Revolution.
Said it was the loudest sound ever heard. The loudest man-made sound ever heard on Earth. It was called the Delft thunderclap.
Yes,
and destroyed the entire town and killed the guy above him.
Thunderclap sounds like something you'd catch downstairs.
Jesus Christ Almighty!
The Delft thunderclap.
If you don't tip that lady, you'll be left with a.
Yeah,
you'll be getting more than a postcard to bring back home.
What was it? Just something blew up.
There was during the 80 Years' War. They like this ongoing period of I guess ongoing for 80 years.
Yeah.
They had a huge.
Although I see they had a 12-year truce in there in the middle just for the crack.
Oh, and I suppose halftime is appreciated by everybody.
Yeah.
They were fighting those pesky Catholics, and so they stored all their gunpowder in a church. In the basement of a church. So you would store your gunpowder in a church because they were the thickest walls available at the time. So the safest place to keep your weapons was a church. And a fella called, I can't remember his name, Cornelius something. He went down one night. He was a member of the militia.
Yeah.
They didn't have a national army. It was all militias. And he went down to make sure the gunpowder was safe. But he went down with a torch, which at the time would generally be made of fire. And we don't know what happened when he walked down there. We don't know what happened. But sometime between him going into the basement full of gunpowder, tons of gunpowder, with the flaming torch, something happened and it blew up and destroyed the entire city and killed Vermeer's inspiration, a guy called Karel Fabricius, who was the guy who sort of brought this new style to the world. He was Rembrandt's top student.
Yes.
And
he also invented that spray for making your couch smell better.
Yeah. I could do it a bit on this couch.
It looks great.
Never buy a white couch.
Yeah. With a cat as well.
Yeah, well, the cat's the least of the worries on this couch.
Yeah. But, I mean, here we are making fun of the poor man for not doing more than 30 odd paintings. He did live through a shit time. It's also a miracle that guy Cornelius' name is forgotten. I mean, maybe it's written down somewhere.
It's written down somewhere. In fact,
this is the biggest fuck up of
Canary?
the 1600s.
Cornelius Canary.
Canary.
I literally made an entire video about this exact guy.
Oh yeah,
and I actually forgot his name.
But did he survive? Was he all right?
I don't know. The sources don't say.
Yeah. It seems like the inspiration for every Three Stooges like vaudeville act of just a man falling down the stairs and his torch tumbled away from him.
Creates the largest explosion and takes out an entire city.
Yeah.
And we lose most of the great works of art of the time.
Yeah.
It's made for comedy.
But, inspired Vermeer to paint a painting that looked pretty good. Explosion in Delft.
Yeah, so basically he grew up in basically like the aftermath of like the Nagasaki or Hiroshima of the time. So he grew up in a town that blew up.
Yeah. And became so much later on became famous, but became a painter who just painted such riveting things as Girl with the Pearl Earring,
Girl with the Red Hat.
All of his painting titles are just like there's what Lady in Waiting, Lady Looking at a Window, classic.
Lady Having a Music Lesson.
Yes, in concert.
Lady Receiving a Letter.
Yes, Lady Writing a Letter with Maid.
And there was a lot of girls, a lot of ladies. Basically, he actually painted almost every one of his paintings just in his kitchen, facing the same way, the same window, same table.
I thought you were going to say From the Bushes.
He was the first artist to get Me Too'd in the 1600s. All of his paintings. Now, the way we're describing them, they sound shit.
Yes,
but he's one of the greatest artists of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of them do look a bit shit.
They are like pretty bland by modern standards.
But when you get told how good they are,
when someone sits you there, it's like when you see a film you don't understand, you're like, that was shit, and then someone talks to you for 6 hours, and you're like, oh, I guess it was good.
You convinced me.
It's just also shit. But there's a lot of stuff about perspective in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, the point is, his paintings are well renowned. And then moving on to a totally different man, Alfred Beat was an Anglo-German from Hamburg who made a shit ton of money in the gold and diamond game in South Africa in the early 1900s, which is a big game to be in. He was a big believer in British imperialism. He was partnered with Cecil Rhodes of Rhodesia fame, which is like, I think, modern day Zimbabwe and Zambia. But that's the level of British colonization he was at. He was getting half of Africa named after him. In 1913, they reckoned his company controlled 37% of the gold coming out of the mines in Johannesburg. But he himself was dead at that stage. He died in 1906, leaving behind a fortune that would be about $1 billion in today's money. He did seem to pump an awful lot of money into like schools, university, education, roads, and infrastructure for the regions in Africa that he was in. But he was also there, like, fleecing them for all their natural resources. So I don't know.
It's kind of like the philanthropists of today. They're like, oh, just look, I gave tens of millions to this cause and that cause. It's like, yeah, because you haven't been paying tax.
Yeah. Because you've made multiple percent, like you made way more money off of the stuff you took out of here than you give back into schools. Yeah,
it's kind of like attacking an old fella in the street, robbing his wallet, and then giving half of that money to, some child down the street.
Not even half, just buying the child like a fucking a rolling wheel with a stick, and then claiming tax back on the wheel.
Jesus, you'd expect more from the British Empire, really.
You would expect more from old Alfred Beat, but he died anyway. But his nephew, his namesake, also Alfred Beat, born in England, big into English politics, continued on his uncle's work in Africa through the 1950s, paying for schools and libraries and health clinics in Zimbabwe, Malawi and Botswana. But he didn't like when the apartheid system was being set up during the 50s, so he decided to head to Wicklow and moved into Rossborough House in 1952. And he brought his big old art collection with him, which he'd inherited from his dad, which included Vermeer's Lady Writing a Letter with Her Maid, a classic. It was the only Vermeer in private ownership at the time, I think. Probably for good reason. But he doesn't seem like the worst lad in terms of like British aristocracy, but he is very, very old British. Like, his wife's cousin was married to Churchill.
Oof.
So he's tied in there, and he's, his uncle and family are setting up half of the British colonies in Africa. But he wasn't a fan of apartheid, so I don't know.
He was a fan of the profits, though.
He was a fan of the profits. Fuck it. Who knows? He's probably...
He might be. I think I don't want to judge the man.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the painting now.
Of what?
Lady writes letter with maid.
Yeah. You're making a face as if you don't agree. How much do you reckon you pay for that?
How much would I pay for it?
Yeah.
I've been walking around Amsterdam the last couple of days. I've seen a lot of them on the streets for about 15 to 20 quid, depending on the size.
Yeah? You go as far as that?
Yeah, I'm not going to start spending millions on something when they're everywhere.
They are, yeah.
They're in every art shop.
I can't actually remember how much that one cost, but it's a lot. But so 22 years after Beats moves to Rossborough, on the 27th of April 1974, a young woman with a French accent knocks on the door to Rossborough House looking for help with her stalled car. But when the door is opened, instead of finding a French damsel, they find 3 lads in balaclavas with AK-47s. And a young English woman by the name of Rose Dugdale.
Doing a French accent.
Which comes up again later on and just seems like a very funny... Like, there's no need for that at all.
Put your hands up, monsieur.
I am le lost, my car. But, so Dugdale... We talked a bit about Dugdale. Whatever. Yeah. So Dugdale had been a British heiress. She graduated from Oxford. Had a brief stint lecturing at Bedford College and working at the UN before she disowned her family's inheritance and decided to go join the Provisional IRA.
As you do.
Yeah. So her father was a millionaire who was an underwriter for Lloyd's of London, and he had like a massive estate near Devon. So she's kind of the opposite to Beat. She's come up through the British, went to Oxford, comes from not aristocracy, but like a family with a lot of money, and
She got a PhD in economics.
Yeah.
So she was no fool.
Which is on her Wikipedia page, like Occupation Economics Association Provisional IRA.
She was doing the books.
She was doing the rounds. But did you read any more about her? What was the logic behind? There's been books written about her life. She's a fascinating woman.
The thing is, about that time, people were being radicalized left, right, and center because in 1968, a Dada art movement that got wrapped up in protests spread across Europe. It started here in Amsterdam in 1965, and by the time it got to Paris in 1968, there was with the Situationist International, a kind of leftist Marxist art protest group. It set off the student riots in 1968, and this kind of radicalized all the youth of the day.
Yeah.
So from that point, I guess everybody who was rebelling against their parents kind of had a kind of pre-made road to go down in radicalization. So in 1968, she got radicalized to anti-colonial movements.
But a lot of people talk a lot of talk, and like, you get radicalized and you stop showering and start calling men fascists. But she was going full on, like she joined the IRA and was dropping. There was one thing where they tried to fly a helicopter over an RUC barracks and threw bombs out the window.
It was a milk churn.
Oh,
they filled a milk churn with explosives, and it became the first ever helicopter bomb attack in Ireland and the UK.
Now that's going for it.
That's pretty decent.
Yeah, that's not just like saying "fuck you, mom and dad" and then moving to Smithfield. That's that's a big swing.
Marrying a Catholic.
Yeah. Marrying some guy who plays guitar and has an album coming out at some point. But she fucking went for it, and I think she became, there's two other people that'll show up in a minute, but I think she was like, she took the world by storm, because it's who was the other famous example of is it where Stockholm Syndrome comes from? Patty Hearst.
Oh, Hearst. Yeah.
She was the other.
Patty Hearst.
Yeah, like rich heiress family who. But then they said that maybe that was more due to kidnapping, but she had fallen in with the. Who was, I can't remember.
The wrong crowd.
The wrong crowd. Some national liberation organization.
Messers.
Yeah, a bunch of ne'er-do-wells, a bunch of guys who wouldn't know what it is work if they come up and liberated their country. But anyway, yes, so this is like, worldwide news that this woman is involved in the IRA, and she shows up to this house, knocks on the door, barrels in with three lads with AK-47s. They get into the house. They make the butler's son lead them to the Bates, who at this stage are both in their 70s. But they tied them up in the library and went about taking paintings from Bates' collections. So Dugdale herself is making all the choices and occasionally stops just to shout, "Capitalist pigs!" at the Bates. Which, I mean, I don't know if there is a film about this, but this is fantastic. Like, she's just going around. I mean, no harm to the IRA. I'd imagine there's not many of them that would understand the same as myself. If I was landed into an art collection, it's like supermarket sweep. Like, you've got 10 minutes to get as much money as I wouldn't fucking know like what's good or not. But it is funny to imagine her walking around arms crossed, thinking, picking out the best ones, and then taking a couple of seconds out to go scout and kick him in the stomach and call him a pig. But in 10 minutes to get,
you'd be calling him Master Bates.
Yeah, because they never had a son. But he would have been Master Bates, yes. I've written that several times into the script. But they get the 19 paintings off the wall, load them into their Ford Cortina, and included in the 19 was Vermeer's lady writing a letter with her maid, as well as a Goya, 2 Gainsboroughs, 3 Rubens, and 12 other paintings that weren't listed. So together they're all valued at about £8 million at the time. And it was the greatest art heist in history at that point, which will genuinely be repeated 4 times in this story. There's 3 separate stories in this, and every one of them was the greatest art heist in history. But at the time, I guess that was the most.
This is that inflation.
That's
what that is.
Yeah. But so yeah, Alfred Bates afterwards said, "They have taken the cream," which I assume means it was the
best.
I know you looked at the painting earlier on and said it wasn't much. Alfred disagrees.
He wouldn't know his arse from his elbow. He's just looking at price tags.
Yeah. So later on, Bates received a ransom letter demanding the release of Marion and Dolores Price from prison in exchange for 5 of the paintings. So these are the other 2. They were similar to Dugdale as well. They hadn't got like the same heiress lineage, but they were also, sisters doing it for themselves. They were accused of blowing up the Old Bailey, by which I mean they blew up the Old Bailey. And later on, they would say that Jerry Adams told them to kill Jean McConville. But
allegedly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they said it a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they were all they were another pair of high profile women involved in the IRA. So 5 of the paintings exchanged for them, and then the rest of the paintings, Dugdale wanted 1.2 million so that she could buy guns. Investigators at the Gardaí put a call out to all holiday accommodation in Ireland to see if someone with a French accent had checked in anywhere.
It worked.
It did
the
work.
French accent worked.
Did you read this bit as well?
This bit about the holidays? No, I did read about the French accent.
The French when I was reading it, I was like, sometimes the CIA or whatever would redact even stuff from years ago where they're like, we don't want to reveal our sources.
Yeah.
This sounds made up. This can't be how they got it.
She was a mastermind.
But they were like, first of all, how would you put out a APB for everyone with a French accent in the 70s? Would you ring everyone up? How would they do that? Put it on the news? I don't know. And then maybe this is giving the game away, but so they get a lead on the 4th of May from a farmer called Con Hayes, a good Cork man. He said the French woman by the name of Mrs. Mérimée had rented a cottage from him, and she'd given him an address in London, but when the guards looked into the address, it was a fake address.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was in France.
It was in France. The Champs-Élysées. That's... but so they sat in the house for a few days, and on the 5th of May, Mrs. Merriam borrows the farmer's car to head off into town. And when she returns, she found herself surrounded by the Gardaí and is arrested quietly. Inside the car, the guards find 16 of the stolen paintings, including the Vermeer. Because the woman was none other than Rose Dugdale herself.
Why was she doing the accent?
So, there's so many things. Right. Why was she doing the accent? So she used the accent to get in the door of Rossborough. All right, that's a weird decision, but sure. You don't have to pretend to be French when you're booking the house.
Because otherwise it's a genius idea that you're like, I'll do it in a French accent.
Yeah.
And then they'll tell the police I was French. And then I'll just go back to doing my own accent.
Thing is, she could only do one accent. She didn't have any other ones. Maybe she thought she was doing like a Spanish accent and it just was coming across as French. But then, right, so she gave an address in London and it was fake. Why was it fake? It could have been she could have given a real address. Didn't have to be hers.
9 Downing Street.
Yeah. Yeah, like 10, that's too obvious.
Yeah.
But it implies the existence of 1 through 9. And then the fact that worked, that there was so few French people on holidays in May in Ireland in 1974 that they got this woman. Because within
I feel like there was
5 days.
A lot of tourists in Ireland in the mid-70s.
I guess not.
Yeah. It was bad PR at the time.
For it to be noteworthy, I suppose maybe that would still be the case. But like for them to put out a thing and someone to be like, yeah, I rented to a French woman 6 days ago. She could have given a real address. She could have used a different accent she shouldn't have borrowed his car with the paintings. I don't know what they've masterminded this scheme to get £8 million worth of paintings and she hasn't got a car.
Yeah. But so she was borrowing the farmer's car.
Yeah, just to do tip into town.
And that had all the...
Where they kept all the paintings. She couldn't leave them back at the house. Someone might take them.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, these are tiny paintings. I forgot that.
Nope.
Right.
Some of them are pretty big. But in the good news column, after they recovered the paintings, so they've only been gone for like 5 days. They send them back to the National Gallery for inspection and to be restored. And when they're doing that, after removing loads of layers of varnish and stuff that had built up over the years, they saw a red wax seal on the tiles in the Vermeer painting that might not have been seen for generations. So, you're welcome. Art.
Cheers, Rose.
Yeah. So in June of 1974, Dugdale was brought up in court for the heist because no one else had been caught in the raid. I guess she was just there by herself at that stage. But when she was asked what her plea was, she said, proudly and incorruptibly guilty, and then was sentenced to 9 years. So after her release, she continued to work with the IRA and with Sinn Féin, and she's still alive today in Dublin somewhere.
Fair play to her. 9 years for 8 million.
Yeah. Well, she did admit to it immediately, so no trial.
Yeah, but that's obvious.
No, because a lot of the times they plead not guilty so that the trial becomes like a media thing. Like, I think the Price sisters might have done the same for the Bailey thing. I don't know, but I think they like to just draw the trial out. And then anytime they ask them a question about the paintings, they're like, well, the British in Rhodesia, and just go off and like that for weeks. But yeah, 9 years. I don't know if she shaved all 9, but yeah, she's still alive. She's pretty old, but there's been books written about her. A book, anyway.
A podcast as well.
Is there?
This one.
Oh, this one. This seems an unfair testimony to the woman.
Yeah, it wouldn't be up there with the great works of investigative journalism.
Yeah.
Is it three articles? You said you
3 articles. Well, I'll be honest, I was fudging the numbers there. It might have been 2 articles.
Rounding up.
I was rounding up, but
could have called her.
No, I only realized she was alive yesterday,
and
she wouldn't answer the phone. But in 1976, the Beats created the Alfred Beat Foundation to preserve Rusborough House and its art collection for the future enjoyment of the Irish people. And they opened up the house to the public in 1978. So he didn't seem the worst sort of a man.
Where did he get the money for the art, though?
From his dad. From
okay.
the diamond mines.
Okay, yeah. You shouldn't be guilty for the sins of your father.
No. I mean, he didn't do a Dugdale and just like give away his inheritance and go join the IRA. But for a posh old English man, he did give away a lot of money.
That's right, because she gave up all her inheritance.
Yeah,
she sold her house.
Yeah.
Did you know she actually got in trouble before? She got in trouble with the cops before this robbery. She actually She actually ransacked her own parents' house. She robbed £82,000 worth of art from her father's house. When she was put in court that time, she actually did use it as a soapbox, a political soapbox.
Yeah.
And she said, the British Army are occupying a small part of Ireland, but not for long. And her father said, I love you with all my heart, but I hate everything you stand for.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a tough one to
That's
hear
good.
from the old man.
Yeah. I wonder, he probably did that a few times in the mirror. I'd say he did a bit of writing on that.
Maybe. Well, they say charity starts at home. So she...
But you can kind of get in the mindset of, like, it's ludicrous. I suppose if you see... I don't know. Because you wouldn't have grown up around him. But if you take a plight like Northern Ireland at the time, during the Troubles, and you're just in some guy's house, and he's got pictures that aren't even that good. And those pictures are worth more money and will cause more fuss than an entire 6 counties of people, you know? The guts of a million people in open warfare, and then there's these paintings that are worth more in internationalized than all of their lives. You would sort of be like, oh, what the fuck is this about?
Yeah, it's a fun thing. I'd be a little bit annoyed if I was Northern Irish, knowing that my value was worth less than a couple of old paintings from a small shithole town in the Netherlands.
The Netherlands. She did a good valuation of, so it was 5 paintings. So the paintings were 8 million. She wanted 5 in exchange for the 2 sisters, and then the rest for 1.2 million. So
that's pretty good.
That's pretty good rate. I don't know if I'd fetch 5 old master paintings, but Alfred, he puts up the house. Were you ever in Rusborough House yourself?
I wasn't in Rusborough House. It's very high on my list when I get back to the old sod. I'll be up to Rusborough.
Well, you could go in through the front door because it's open. Or, like, on the 1st of May, 1986, which was 4 days off the 12th anniversary of the original robbery, which I thought was a bit ballsy. Maybe they got delayed a few days. But some thieves cut open a pane of glass at 2 a.m. and it triggered the infrared alarm. They went and hid behind some bushes and waited.
Classic.
Michael O'Shea, a retired Irish Army colonel and the administrator of the Bait collection, he gets alerted. He shows up, he searches around the house, doesn't see anything out of the ordinary. The police show up because triggered the automatic alarm. They take a look around. Everything seems grand. So they all decide it was a false alarm. And an hour later, the lads hop out from behind a bush, go into the house, and lift 18 paintings in 6 minutes. Valued upwards of 45 million. Yeah, it was so. Initially, they thought it was the IRA again. Alfred Bates said the stolen pictures were so well known, they were virtually unsellable on the market. I cannot think it could be other than some sort of revolutionary movement like the IRA or the NLAI, who will probably ask a ransom, which they will not get. But it turned out this time that it wasn't the IRA. It was the kingpin of Dublin criminal underworld himself,
Bertie.
Martin
Bertie.
The General.
The General, yeah.
Remember at the end of The General where like Bertie Ahern does a Kaiser Sose walk away from...
He just gets down the street and starts talking normally.
Reveals his banana suit.
Yeah. The greatest thing Bertie Ahern did was convince everyone that he was a fucking idiot. He did put us on the map.
Put us on the map.
Yeah.
But it was The General.
Martin Cahill.
Martin Cahill, as depicted in the film The General.
And Ordinary Decent Criminal.
Yes, a much better film. Also with Kevin Spacey.
Well, Kevin Spacey.
But
how's he getting on these days?
He's having it rough, I think.
Not great, I'd say.
He gave up the movies.
He did. Well, the movies kind of gave him up. It was a bit of a shared...
Like, surely he'd be doing TV. No, he's kind of...
No, he seems to just be doing videos from inside his house. I read a good story recently about The General. So this is Martin Cahill, like a massive criminal gang guy from Dublin.
A drug dealer.
I don't know if he was a drug dealer, because apparently he hated drugs, but then also apparently he was running heroin into the country. So it's hard to know. It's the same as the IRA. They hated drugs until they realized how much money they could make off it.
Yeah. He was a complicated man.
He was. He had two... he had a wife and he was banging her sister.
Yes.
But consensually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a Dubai prince.
Like a Dubai prince. Which is what you Cork people call a prince.
Oh.
Da.
Oh, damn.
But yeah, I read an interesting thing about him. It must be the criminal journalist Cahill Tobin. He was writing bits about Cahill back when Cahill was massive, and he was just a classic, fucking just journal. Was letting his house go to wreck and ruin. Hadn't done laundry in months, and he finally, maybe it was either him or he got a maid in to do it or something, and he finally lifted all the clothes out of a hamper and found a shotgun and called the cops. Ooh. And it turned out that Cahill had put the shotgun there like months previous, it was a loaded shotgun in his like laundry basket as a warning. But your man was such a slob he didn't notice for months.
Whoa!
And then Cahill was apparently ripping because he didn't even blink because he didn't realize that he'd been threatened.
How tough must you be that like you give the enemy you want to kill, you actually give him a loaded gun?
Yes.
Like here, you have one.
Yeah. You come at me, you best use that.
But what's going through his head then? It's like, I'm dealing with a different kind of animal.
Yeah, he's still looking at him. He's not even fucking breaking a sweat. He's a tough man. Yeah, I mean the film. I watched The General when I was younger, and I thought this is class. I watched it again over lockdown. Really makes him come out as a sort of fun character. He did a lot of fun things, like just cover his face.
Happy-go-lucky murderer.
Yeah, just a bit of it. He was a real piece of shit. Yeah, it seems.
Yeah, Ordinary Decent Criminal had that as well.
Yeah,
as The General, where it's like, but he's kind of like he's like Robin Hood in a sense. Where like, it's good to see one of our own getting. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
he robs from the rich and sells heroin to the poor.
To the hood.
Yeah.
Oh.
He
Robin the Hood.
Damn, that was pretty good.
Oh, gee.
But listen again. We're skirting over a lot of big characters in this story, like Dugdale, Albert Beats, Cahill. Who knows? But all we're here to do is talk about Vermeer, which we're also underqualified to talk about.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But you say we're in one of his descendants' homes?
Yeah, my landlord is a direct descendant of Johann Vermeer. And he tells me this every time I see him. I don't think he's got much going on other than his 20 or 30 properties that he makes money from. I don't think he's got a lot going on.
Well, it's good that from a struggling artist with 12 kids, it's good to know that one of his descendants did well to become a landlord.
Yeah, I guess, maybe they ended up with some of the money from the sales. I don't know how it works. I don't know. I'm sure maybe. The art world is pretty above board from everything I've read.
Mm.
I think everyone gets paid their dues.
Yeah. But in the days after the robbery, the second robbery of Rusborough House, some boys are going fishing. They found 7 of the 18 paintings in a nearby ditch. And these were like the least valuable of the 18. But it is funny to think that they took them out and then just spent time in a ditch going through them and appraising them.
Yeah, because they only wanted the most expensive one then.
Yeah, but I don't think they knew. Just again, like if it was I walked into a gallery, I wouldn't. If I had like,
I'm sure they had a photo to be like,
how would they have a photo? And they clearly didn't, because they threw half them in a ditch afterwards. But I don't know if they're eyeballing them by torchlight and be like, yeah, no, yeah, maybe, yeah, no, I don't know. But
they're smarter than you're giving them credit for.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
They ran a giant illegal drugs operation for ages.
Yeah, but
so they can just talk to one person on the continent. I assume everyone in Europe knows about art.
Maybe it's just any guy from France that they brought over. Well, the rest of the paintings, they vanished off. There was rumours that they were being stored in a underground bunker somewhere in the Wicklow Mountains. Cal was so feared in Dublin that like no one was going to tout him. He was a big man in Dublin. He didn't have any connections to the international art thieving circles, so he couldn't actually do anything with the paintings. So there was stories that he was using them as collateral to get loan money for drug operations. So he'd find some loan shark, give them a Vermeer, be like, that's worth 10 million on the open market. You give me 1 million, I'll use it to buy drugs and then give you the money back. But I don't know if that's true. Another theory that the IRA had was that he sold them to a unit of the UVF, the Ulster Volunteer Force, that was led by a man called Billy Wright, who was nicknamed King Rat.
King Rat?
Did you ever come across King Rat?
I came across King Rat, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, see, I'm afraid to talk about these people on a recorded medium.
Yeah, they're tough men. Well, he's dead now.
Oh, nice.
That's good for
away.
him.
That's good to hear. King Rat, I think I've seen a mural of him in the Shankill Road.
Oh yeah, that'd be right.
So more real. No, that's art.
Yes,
this is the kind of art I can get behind.
Yeah, none of this woman looking at a fucking postcard at a door.
Yeah, I want woman in a balaclava.
Yeah,
topless.
Yeah.
With a King Rat tattoo. Yes. Well, the name came from, apparently it was a joke by a commander in the UDA, like Ulster Defence, whatever the fuck. So it just seems like pure pub banter. Apparently he was just sitting in the pub drinking, and everyone that walked in, he just immediately gave them a nickname. And Billy walked in, he was like King Rat.
Oh.
And this seems like one of the only guys who, like if it was anyone else, he would have shot him.
Yeah.
But he was a commander in it. But then the name got out somehow, and it got picked up by the Sunday World. So it's 2 journalists, Martin O'Hagan and Jim Campbell, start calling him King Rat in the Sunday World. So Billy Wright like bombed the newspaper offices and had death threats out against him.
That's not like the UDA.
I know. So maybe we shouldn't be calling them King Rat. But that's such a funny.
He's our Muhammad.
That's yeah. You can no depictions of King Rat.
But the Sunday World are pretty good at naming people. Like they name you when the Sunday World name you. Who they had the Penguin.
Yeah,
the Penguin. I was like, someone's already called the Penguin.
It's Batman.
Yeah, one of Aladdin got them.
Yeah, Colin Farrell. I wonder if the Sunday World named the General.
Huh.
Yeah,
it's a pretty cool name. I'd be happy with.
Yeah, because then there's the
I'd
monk.
be happier with the General than King Rat.
You've got the monk.
Oh, the monk.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, but that's
owns the only stretch Hummer in Ireland.
Oh yeah,
he owns a pink stretch.
I see
Hummer.
that.
he rents it out to Deb's parties.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I've seen it in Cork.
No way, really?
I've seen this like loads of times.
Oh, it's out there. It's difficult to miss
because it must just be the only one. I've always thought it weird when you'd see it around because right, stretch humazines aren't really a thing in Ireland.
Humazine.
And that's a beautiful name.
A bright one, a bright pink one.
If anyone else buys a stretch humazine, do you reckon he just goes around and knifes the tires? Like what? Well, just when you're on about stretch limousine and where we are now in Amsterdam, my brother was telling me in your home city of Cork, there's a strip club called. Is it Secrets?
Secrets,
yeah. And Secrets apparently has its own, what would you call it, like usher-in service or whatever. They've got like they'll drop you off to your neighborhood.
Yeah.
But he says they drop you off in like a marked
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It's got big like naked women on the side.
Yeah,
it says secrets.
It says secrets on it. Yeah,
there's nothing secretive about it. Everyone knows what's happening.
You're getting dropped off at like 1 or 2 in the morning after the strip club to like neighborhoods in Cork from a secret summer fan.
I lived on that street for a couple of years. I was living above a pub just down the road from Secrets, and
you're drawn to the accommodation.
Yeah,
in certain areas.
I'm noticing a theme in my life. Yeah.
I can't remember where we were with this. King Rat something.
King Rat.
But have you got something?
Oh yeah, did the general sell the painting to the bowed lads in the UDF?
So was like John Boardman's film, The General?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. John Boardman implied in his thing that I think there's a scene where the IRA ask for the paintings and they want some money from it, and Cahill won't cooperate. And they said that he sold them to the UVF. But who knows?
Sour grapes.
Could be, but he also could be the sort of man who'd say, fuck it, I don't give a shit, I'll sell to anybody. But regardless, years later, 1990, one of the stolen paintings turns up in the heroin circuit of Istanbul, aka Istanbul. 2 years later, another one was found in a van transporting drugs in London. And then on the 1st of September 93, in a Scotland Yard detective by the name of Charlie Hill posed as a middleman for the Middle East, or for a Middle Eastern tycoon interested in buying some stolen art. Hill was born in Britain. He was brought up mostly in America, but he'd studied in Trinity in Dublin and lived in Belfast for a while along the way. And he met with 3 Irishmen and a Yugoslavian in Belgium in 1993, and they brought him into a multi-story car park. They brought him into the multi-story car park of Antwerp International Airport and brought him up to the boot of a rented car. There the lads popped open the boot and took out Goya's painting of Donna Antonia Zarate from a gym bag to show him. Hill said they also had Vermeer's Lady writing a letter with her maid and another work by a Dutch miniaturist in some bin bags in the boot. So, high quality art thieving. This is, I think, must be 7 years after the initial theft, and they're just carrying the reins.
So the trail went cold until then.
I don't know. I don't know how. I think he might have just been posing. I suppose if you're Cahill and you're a big deal criminal man in Dublin, but you don't have connections to international art fences, anyone that reached out to you, because they suspect that it's him.
You'd be wary of.
You'd be wary, and after 7 years, this guy, I guess, just had a convincing story. And so he had said he's in the car park, and he said, I put on a mid-Atlantic accent and posed as an art dealer who had Arab buyers lined up for the Vermeer. At the time, I was working at Scotland Yard's art squad. I was taken to a multi-story car park in Antwerp by a gangster and had to mask my emotion as I unwrapped the painting. It was the greatest masterpiece I've ever had the pleasure to hold. So they just handed it to him out of a bin bag, and in come the Belgian police. But after the painting was recovered, a restorer found a pinprick hole in the centre of the eye of the seated woman, which he originally thought was damage from the theft. Instead, it was discovered that Vermeer had employed a well-known 17th century tactic whereby a string was attached to a pinhole placed at the picture's vanishing point and pulled tight in order to verify the orthogonals of the scene's perspective.
Oh, those orthogonals.
That's 2 things we've done for the art world. They don't know dick about Vermeer if we hadn't kept stealing these paintings.
What's an octagonal?
I'll tell you what that was. That was a sentence.
Is that what they fight in the UFC?
I have no idea. Why the vanishing point of a painting? Anything?
Listeners at home, go Google orthogonal.
Orthogonal. Yeah.
Orthogonal.
You got to verify them.
I'm more of a hexagonal man myself.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it was a class painting. So the paintings that were allegedly sold to the UVF, they were recovered in Ankara in Turkey with some stings by the police. Eventually, all the paintings make their way back to the collection in Rossborough. Cahill is thought to have made somewhere between 600,000 and 800,000 for all the paintings, which could have fetched somewhere between 20 and 50 million if he'd sold them legitimately, which he obviously wouldn't have been able to do.
Yeah.
No,
hard to sell stolen paintings legitimately.
It is.
Yeah. And unless I guess it's like if there's like a sheikh who just wants to have it and put it in his own private gallery and never show anyone and never tell anyone that he has it. That's basically the market you're looking at.
Thomas Crown
wasn't
affair.
the largest, the most expensive painting ever sold was sold to a Saudi sheikh. Sheikh. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, it was a Leonardo da Vinci. He paid, I don't know, over €500 million for it.
Jesus.
To put in his super yacht.
Yes.
They've now found out it's a fake.
Yes.
So $500 million is what the lads call it. No time for billion.
Do you get any? Was that back?
You got
a receipt?
Surely at some point in that $500 million sales, you'd employ someone to take a look at it. You've heard of the Mona Lisa. Now here's the Mona Teresa, her sister. It's a less famous painting, but verified. It's just a flipped image. Or she's wearing a bandana.
It's also come to light, because I'm a bit of an art expert myself. It's also come to light in recent years that Da Vinci also painted a topless Mona Lisa. Oh, a topless one.
I'd pay $500 million for that.
Maybe, yeah. It could be the world's first. Well, no, it wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't be.
What am I talking about?
Definitely,
the oldest art ever discovered was of naked women.
That's why she's probably got that little smile on her face, because she knows what happened.
She's like, this is the easy one. It's gonna get tough later.
Oh yeah, I was thinking more. She was just happy with what had happened before.
Oh, okay.
Got the right. Got 2 paintings. Well, what's that new law that they have about
revenge porn?
Revenge porn. If you sell that, is that you get consent from Renaissance era Mona Lisa?
I don't want to be part of the movement that gets Leonardo da Vinci cancelled.
No,
I think, look, what's done is done. We've all that's the fucking cat trying to get in. Okay, sorry, this is the
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
he was like, stop trying to get Da Vinci.
He's one of the greats. There's some North Italian man out there.
Jesus.
From Da Vinci.
It's a violent cat.
But that's interesting about they refer to the girl with the pearl earring as like the Dutch Mona Lisa. It's a similar sort of nonsense painting that is unbelievably expensive for no reason. Although it seems like a current theme with these, like the most the paintings that we kind of know and the ones that are the most famous and valuable are ones that have been stolen.
I guess that's where they get their je ne sais quoi.
It's like people know what they are. It's after they're stolen, it's everywhere. The Mona Lisa was stolen at some point.
Yeah, the Mona Lisa was stolen.
Yeah.
That's when it became the cause celeb.
Exactly.
After it got stolen.
Well, the end of this part 2, on the 18th of August 1994, Martin Cahill is on his way to the video shop in Rathmines to return a copy of A Bronx Tale.
Great
Yeah.
film.
So gangsters do watch gangster movies.
Yeah, he had good taste. So he's in his car, gunman comes up beside him, shoots him several times in the torso before speeding off on a motorbike. So the Provisional IRA claimed responsibility for the murder within hours. The theory is it was revenge for him selling paintings to the UVF, which the UVF then used to buy guns from South Africa. There's also claims in a book by Paul Williams called The General, which said that Cahill's 2 underlings, John Traynor and John Gilligan, were running a giant hash ring that Cahill wanted a piece of. So the 2 Johns told the IRA that Cahill was importing heroin, which might be true, and they also might have paid the IRA a load of money to kill him. But either way, they claimed that they murdered him, and like he was on the top of their hit list. In the John Boardman film, it definitely implies that he was killed like the day that the surveillance squad stopped.
Yeah, they made that very clear. Yeah, in that.
But it was the surveillance squad was called Tango Squad. Cahill was called Tango Number 1.
Tango Number 1,
and it was a 90-person team that'd been trailing them for years. And like, I think a couple of months before that, the Cahill's gang, like in late November of the year before, Cahill's gang had been caught trying to do a high-profile tiger kidnapping. So they were all going through the court case. So it seems very unlikely that like a few months after that court case, they all stopped trailing him, and that right after they all stopped trailing him, the IRA shot him. I don't know, is that a fairly well accepted conspiracy theory that the guards just let it sort of happen?
No, it seems a little too easy, a little too kind of black and white. You know, I mean, like this the guards never stopped the IRA before, right? I mean, the IRA were like, no, the guards said no.
Yeah, but even like that, he was being tailed the whole time. I suppose they wouldn't have really cared if they were caught, but it'd be hard to get away. Like, he was under constant surveillance.
Yeah, the guards always get their man. That's the thing.
But the last bit of evidence was that 2 weeks after the IRA killed them, they declared the first ceasefire. So it really seems like there was a last bit of business.
The lads last weekend out. It's my last job. Then I'm out.
One thing before we do, and if you give us this, maybe Gardaí, we'll agree to a ceasefire.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just not show up to work that day for a man that you don't like. Yep, that's all the John Boardman evidence anyway.
Like a win.
Yeah. So, the cat jumped this forward a good bit.
Did the cat? The cat. Wilhelmina is sabotaging the podcast.
But
she was in on it.
She was another few years later. Albert Bate made an honorary Irish citizen in 1993 in recognition for his philanthropy and his donation of the 17 masterpieces to the National Gallery in 1987. So he gave the Vermeer and a few of the other paintings that had been robbed to the people. So we own them all now.
I'll be honest, they kind of seem like cursed paintings. I'd probably want them out of the house as well.
Well, I'd read somewhere before Cahill had robbed them. Surely after two, like these are some of the, in a sense, if you want to get very, like these paintings belong to everybody, and they've been robbed. After the first robbery, you'd be like, can we put them somewhere better that isn't just your gaff? And then the second robbery, both of which they're not like Ocean's 11 robberies. It's literally just in both cases someone showed up to the house and ran away with all the paintings. Mm-hmm. At some point you'd be like, right, give them to us and we'll put them in a guarded museum, not just your gaff.
Yeah,
but his dad bought them with his mine money. It's called capitalism.
It seems like no one has in this has like respect for the paintings, because even the lads who robbed them, they're like, fuck 17 of them away, let's just keep this one.
Yeah.
And then they're driving them around and like just in gym bags.
Yeah, just yeah. Well,
like in every movie I've ever seen in regards to like art theft.
The Thomas Crown affair?
Yeah.
Bullshit. This is what happens.
There was no bin bags in the Thomas Crown affair, I assure you.
No. I watched that film over Christmas with my parents. Way more sex in it than I would have thought. It is, yes.
It had a fair in the title.
It did. I should have seen that coming. Thomas Crown, I don't need to read anymore. It sounds nice. So Albert, he becomes an honorary Irish citizen. He died when his wife Clementine died in 2005. Her will stated that her husband's diary should be kept secret until 21 years after Queen Elizabeth II's death, or 70 years after her own death.
We are getting close.
What?
22 more years to go.
22 more years. But that means, well, what's in there about her then? You know what I mean? He was like, specifically, you can't read this until I've been dead for 70 years, or the Queen's been dead for 21, which also makes it sound like she thought the Queen was going to live for another 80 years.
It's possible, man. It's
anything is possible.
She's still going strong.
She's whipping. She's a whippet.
She's 2 years off my boy Louis the 16th. She's in maybe just under 2 years or just over 2 years.
Second longest reigning monarch. Fair play to her.
I keep meaning to bring this up because he comes up an awful lot in podcasts, but I don't know if I've said it before. He went through like he had an anal fistula in the 1600s, and he had he had two anuses. The fistula is like when it's not what you're thinking. Mm-hmm. It's a different kind of tunnel basically that goes between two openings in your body, and he basically had two assholes, and he had surgery for two assholes now, I'd imagine, would be difficult. And this is back in like the 1680s or 90s. And that man,
one of them.
He's the fucking longest living monarch ever.
Fucking maybe he's the missing link in the next stage of evolution.
Maybe.
Two arseholes.
Two arseholes, that's what the key was. How many arseholes has Queen Elizabeth got? That's the real question. On her jubilee. These are the questions I want answered. But anyway, that's probably what's in Bates's diary, is how many arses the Queen has. But
it's the third secret of Fatima. The Queen's got 3 arseholes.
Well, this is the last. This is the third theft painting. This is the last one. While all that stuff with Carl had been happening, all the stuff with the second Rusper theft, on the other side of the world, over in Boston, 1:24 a.m. on the 18th of March in 1990.
St. Patrick's Night.
St. Patrick's Night, yeah. The best time to rob an art gallery in Boston.
The night of the long highs.
Oh.
Everyone was, there wasn't two sober men in the whole state. And there was only 2 lads on security in the gallery, which was the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum gallery. I think it was the same thing, which she just had inherited a shit ton of fantastic art. But 2 guys dressed as Boston cops buzz the side door and they say, "Police, let us in. We heard about a disturbance in the courtyard." And once they're let inside, the officers demand the security guy's ID, saying that they have an arrest warrant out for him.
For the security guard?
Yeah, who they haven't seen before. Apparently they walk in and say, "Hey, you look familiar. I think we have a default warrant out for you." And the guy, who's a kid, he gets out from behind the desk where the alarm was and just hands them over his student ID, at which point they just put the cuffs on him. And they're like, "Yeah, this is a heist." So that's one.
That is a bit Ocean's 11.
No, that's the stupidest. Like in all of these things.
You're right. That's Ocean's 8.
That's Ocean's 8.
The little known prequel.
The feminist masterpiece where they rob pretty jewelry, but they say to the kid, "Don't give us any problems. You won't get hurt." The kid says, "Don't worry. They don't pay me enough to get hurt."
Oh, my man.
That's good.
My man.
No, I'm hoping that's they have it on audio from the the cameras. That's just not in his statement afterwards. Like, well, why didn't you stop it? It's like, you don't pay me enough.
Bitch,
and that's what I told him
that's
as
above
well.
my fucking pay grade. Hey, you know what?
Take whatever you want.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, you fucking let me in on it. Just let me watch. Years later,
I just want to piss on one.
It's just one. Well, apparently, years later in interviews with that guard, he said that the place was barely guarded at all. Like, he played in a band, so he'd be playing in a band until midnight, and then go do his night shift at the art gallery. And he said he enjoyed smoking joints before going down there every once in a while. He brought his friends in to look around the gallery during the
security
nights.
guards.
Yeah, the security guards implies multiple, and this is the bare minimum of security guards. There's 2 of them, and it's just one of them working at the front desk, smoking joints and hanging out. And he's 20.
Jesus.
What a job.
It's a dream job. Yeah. On
I
the
have
night shift.
so little respect for art heists now after this. They're so fucking... Each one of these is declared as a mastermind. It's literally just walking up.
Connive that.
Which?
That painting.
Yeah.
No, well,
No.
I'm taking it anyway.
Yeah, it's got... who's going to stop me? You just walk up and start taking it off the wall, and they're like, "Well, we actually... There's no one's here at the minute. Yeah. It's just me." And... my friend was telling me, he was just back from South Africa. He was over there and as part of his college thesis doing some studies in the diamond mines.
Him and Musk.
And he was out in the rhino reserves, and they were saying, "Yeah, he was like, oh, it's cool. They're offering jobs out there. They're not really jobs as much. It's just volunteer work where you go over and work for free, but they'll give you a room and board. And your job is to go out into the safaris where the rhinos are and stop poachers. There's apparently rhino horn."
Yeah.
It's basically hair. It's just hair. It's not even a horn. It's just the same thing your nails is made of, but it can go for $250,000.
I think the Chinese market, they use it as an aphrodisiac.
Yeah. And no matter how many times people have told them it's not going to make your dick any bigger, it still sells like hotcakes. But the job he was offered was just to go out and you patrol around unarmed to stop men.
Saying it won't give you a boner.
It's the only thing standing between them and literally $250,000 worth of hair is some lad from Dublin with a torch. He was like, "Now, come on, home with you. I don't want to be fucking ringing your wives in the morning and telling them what went on here. So leave now, we'll say no more about it."
I don't get paid enough for this. I don't get paid anything.
Yeah, just fucking take it. I don't care.
The horniness of 500 million men are behind these lads.
Yeah. You try telling fucking China.
Jesus.
No. But, yeah, so basically this is the same... There's not really much of a security in this place. They get in, they take the paintings. They have 81 minutes to go around and over an hour to just rob the paintings.
They can read the description beside them.
They can look them up at that point and be like, "No, this is probably worth more. I don't know. This doesn't go with the vibe of that one. The feng shui is a little off." So they go straight to the Dutch room though, because they recognize game. They get Vermeer, the Rembrandts. Altogether, they get 13 works of art. including Vermeer's The Concert, as well as a Manet, 5 drawings by Degas, 3 Rembrandts, altogether estimated a value of 500 million, which is the largest art heist of all time, and also the largest single theft of private property in America.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And you had one stoned student
standing in the way.
Vanguard.
Yeah, and they didn't even take everything. They just took like bits of it.
They weren't greedy though.
Nope.
They weren't greedy.
No, they weren't.
It's essentially robbing paper.
It is really like it is like there's no like the general obviously scumbag. The guy that this is tied to scumbag. IRA, whatever. But like the actual robbing of the art is basically it is just a bit of fun. Yeah. Like if you're not apart from the AK-47s and hitting the old man, if you can just walk into a place and walk out, it's like a pint glass from a pub. If you walk out with it under your jacket, no harm, no foul.
They're victimless crimes.
They're really
what it's seeming like to me.
They're extremely old bits of art that were bought through the diamond mines and slave labor. If someone walks into a place and just walks away with it, what of it? If they use that art to then buy a load of heroin and bring it into Dublin slums, sure, who's victimless? Yeah. Or if they swap it for guns so that they can run a terrorist organization, it's fucking. It's just it's snakes and ladders.
Until you've walked a mile in a man's shoes, who are we to judge?
That is true. That is correct. But another man that shouldn't be judged is the main suspect of that heist. A man called James Whitey Bulger, the Boston mob boss. The Bulger was from good Irish heritage. He'd been raised, I think both of his parents, his mother might have been a fresh Irish immigrant, his father was a few generations Irish. Risen through the ranks to become a ruthless Bostonian mob boss. And he was also a massive rat.
King rat, I've heard.
A king rat. So he's apparently the inspiration for Jack Nicholson's character in The Departed.
Ooh.
He was a very high up.
A lot of movies getting made about these lads.
A lot of, because they're fascinating. These are all like crazy stories. But this guy, because he was a big time mob boss, and then years later, or there was another film about him, Black Mass, where Johnny Depp.
Seen that.
Yeah. It's not great, but
okay.
Yeah,
he's
Departed much
always
better.
Looked really cool.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I think because he was but because he was white and Irish, he was a massive mob boss. But they never could figure why, all of his Italian counterparts were getting taken down. No one ever went after him. Turned out he'd been squealing to the FBI for years. Yeah, so he was a giant informant. And I think that's, the whole thing in The Departed.
Losing a bit of respect for this lad.
Yeah, but this might get the respect back.
Oh.
Maybe. So again, this comes from Charlie Hill, who's the art detective from the other ones. He reckoned even if Bulger hadn't been involved with the robbery, he would have taken control of the paintings after they were stolen. And he reckoned that Bulger would have given the proceeds to the IRA for the cause. And maybe because he was meant to sell them guns, but they got captured along the way. But apparently he loved sending money back to the boys. Yeah, so what do you think about old Bulger now? Maybe he might be a murderer, but at least he's funneling money back to the original IRA.
Again, who am I to judge?
Yeah.
Who am I to judge? Leave that to the...
the big wigs in court.
To the judge.
So at this stage, Charlie Hill's like a world-renowned art finder. I think he was a private detective by the time of this case, but he'd also helped recover Edward Munch's The Scream in '94, which is, I think, another case of a painting just becoming very famous because it was stolen.
Also, it's distinctive.
It's also a piece of shit. It's distinctively not good. But 3 months... Yeah, so this is another great art robbery. In that case, so Edmund Munch's The Scream, very famous painting. In 1984, 2 thieves put a ladder against the wall in the National Gallery in Oslo, took The Scream, and left a note saying, "Thanks for the poor security."
Jesus.
A ladder.
My God.
No one saw it coming.
No,
the
they
oldest
didn't.
trick in the book.
Just walked right out the door, underarm. Morning. It's fucking the audacity to take the time to write that note as well. But 3 months later, he got it back. Hill just died last year in 2021 in March. So in 2019, he's
we'll
quoted.
See what comes out in 21 years about him.
Yeah, well, he was quoted as saying in 2019, "I've held a Goya, a Munch, and a Vermeer in my hands that I personally helped recover. There's nothing else I want to do." It's a pretty good life. He hung around for 2 more years and died. Just before COVID, I guess. But there was a theory that Bulger was hanging on to the art to use as a bargaining chip if he was ever arrested. In April 1994, the museum received an anonymous letter in which the writer claimed that he could get the paintings back in exchange for $2.5 million and immunity for himself and the thieves and those who held the paintings, which is basically just everybody.
Yeah.
Good deal. Did he say who he wanted immunity for? Because that would be a bit of a giveaway. If you
give the names. These specific people, I'll give you their social security number, but just so that you know I'm on the level.
But also, if we have to get immunity for just one or two of them, in order of importance.
My name, disregard that. But nothing ever came of that. In 2005, on the 15th anniversary of the heist, Anne Holloway, the director of the museum, released a statement asking for info on the art, and in the statement she said that, like, years ago I received a lead from a sincere individual giving me information that was confirmed and genuine. The person is clearly concerned about the stolen art and knew its conditions, reacted in good faith and complied with the first request. I'm very much hoping that this person will contact me again by writing or calling, and then she gives details to get through to it. And she advises whoever is holding the stolen art in order to protect the artworks, they must be stored in conditions. It's supposed to be like ideally between 70 degrees Fahrenheit and 50% humidity, and not in a bin bag or just
left on the side of a ditch.
Or in the boot of a car.
At that stage, they were gone for 15 years. 20 years after the heist, the FBI started putting up billboards along the roads in Boston and offered $5 million reward if the paintings returned in good condition.
If they had just given the $2.5 million.
I know. Well, apparently that was also the biggest reward they've ever offered.
So wait, how much are they offering for the reward?
$5 million.
5?
Yeah.
20 years after the 2.5?
Yeah. No, so the 2... Yeah, 20 years after 2.5, yeah. So they've doubled it in 20 years.
Which might just be inflation.
There is a kind of understanding, but over the course of, like, these paintings are from the 1640s. Because a lot of... Even when the paintings that Ross or that Bate donated to the Irish people, he didn't have them at the time, but it was donated... like in absentia, there's a kind of understanding that they'll eventually come back around,
right?
Because eventually, like, if it takes 100, like in the grand scheme of things, they've been around for hundreds of years. If it takes 50 years for someone to stumble across it in a pub, they'll like get back to the rightful owners, aka the extremely rich and wealthy.
I mean, I guess they were missing for 200-300 years originally.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And then they just sort of showed up.
Yeah,
it's like the flying hellfish episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
at
you
the
wouldn't
very
know
end when the German, the air just comes and takes the paintings.
I'll
get the room, fun boys.
Exactly. That guy is who truly deserves the art, and not people. But like FBI put out this thing for them, but nothing ever came of it. Bulger was arrested himself in June of 2011 at the age of 81. After several years in custody, in October of 2018, he was transferred from the Federal Transfer Center in Oklahoma City to United States Penitentiary Hazleton. So he was transferred on the 28th of October. The very next day, he was found beaten to death.
Oh.
Yes. He was in a wheelchair at the time. They said he was beaten, what would you say, out of recognition.
Yeah, I think did they take his eyes out?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it. Like, they literally did everything they could.
Because he'd been in custody. I think he'd been on the run for 8 years or something. He was hiding.
The FBI were in Ireland. I remember reading this at the time. The FBI were in Ireland. They were in West Cork and Kerry looking for Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
There had been sightings in Ireland of, I guess, an old man. and they were in Ireland looking for him. It was in the news at the time.
That was almost definitely someone who just like was annoyed at a local and was like just called the FBI and like, that's Whitey Bulger there.
Yeah, there goes Whitey.
There goes Whitey.
Small town politics.
Yeah, he hadn't bought him around back one too many times. He's like, I'll fucking soften your cough.
So I guess if he got his eyes taken out, that's probably like a classic mob move, right?
Yeah. I remember. I couldn't find it there.
His tongue as well.
Yeah,
he's a rat.
Yeah.
Like they tortured him because they knew they wouldn't be able to get. You know, they only get one chance at this.
Also, he was in a wheelchair in '89.
Yeah, how much torture?
But they didn't just want to shoot like a bullet in the head. They were like, no, we're going to make him pay.
Yeah. I didn't really get too much into this, but apparently, like, so he was, you know, on the run for years. Everyone knew he was a rat. All the lads in prison had seen Departed. And then he was transferred, and it was like big news he was getting transferred. And the prison he was being transferred to had 4 murders in like the last couple of months. And they were basically like, we are understaffed. We cannot protect one of the most high profile informants that we've ever had in this prison. And within 24 hours, he was beaten to death. So, you know.
Rest in peace, Whitey.
There goes a fucking real one.
Yeah, 19 murders under his belt. And
yeah, who knows? And played by Johnny Depp, the worst crime of all in the eyes of 2022. But yeah, I read this as well. Like in 2013, the FBI said they knew who stole the paintings 20 years after the robbery, but they weren't given any names because they were still being prosecuted. But as of 2022, like the Vermeer's The Concert is still missing.
No,
and it is considered the most valuable missing painting of all time, valued at 200 million. And if you want to look it up for the closing notes, if you didn't like watching a lady waiting with her letter, you're not going to like In Concert, because it is literally, as you were saying at the start, it's basically the same painting. It's the same room. It's just a different woman.
Is it this one?
No.
That's another. That's
another fucking one.
Did you read up on the guitar player?
I didn't. But so just the last line is. This is pure. A lot of this. We were talking about this before we started recording. A lot of the story is conjecture. A lot of it is just people saying, it's probably the IRA.
I'd say it was him, all right.
It's hard. I have no proof, but that's the sort of type of man he was. But I'm choosing to believe this. So Charlie Hill, the art detective, he reckoned, he was asked about the concert, and he reckoned that the painting is somewhere on the island of Ireland.
Oh.
And the Bulger gave it to the IRA. Now, by his own admission, he said there was no hard evidence for that. But he had a hunch. I've seen enough film noir films to realize you trust a hunch.
I mean, his last hunch, it was a pretty good hunch.
He had an Edward Munch hunch. He found the scream.
Munch hunch.
That man, and he said, he reckoned that Whitey owed the IRA for the guns and said, here, how about a $200 million painting? And they just have it somewhere. And at no point during the ceasefire or any of the other drug running scandals or at no point Sinn Féin have had it up in the Ardèche, and it's just in a basement somewhere.
The new flag of a united Ireland.
The Vermeer's In Concert.
Which I've now seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 200 million.
Yeah. It's a lot.
But what about the guitar picker?
The guitar player was another Vermeer painting that was stolen. And again, this is Conjecture City.
Yeah.
Once again. But from Kenwood House Museum in London. Someone came in one night with a sledgehammer. Sledgehammered their way into the building and stole one of Vermeer's fantastically named paintings, The Guitar Player. I'll leave it to your imagination what it was. It was in 1974.
Here it is.
And they thought that it was none other than Rose Dugdale again.
Damn.
She's got 2 under her belt.
Yeah.
And she, again, conjecture, they couldn't catch her for it, but someone came forward, a member of the Roma community, a soothsayer.
Francesco Totti.
No, not quite. It was a lady by the name of Nella Jones. And she said when she saw the news of the stolen painting that she had these visions in her head. So she called Scotland Yard, said, I've got visions where this painting might be held.
She says it's her moment of Scotland Yard on speed dial.
Yeah, I met Nella Jones again. Yeah. And she said she drew a map for Scotland Yard and gave them the map where she imagined the painting was stashed. Yeah. The investigators went to a forest and found the painting's frame.
No
painting, just the frame.
Fuck.
And they eventually the painting was found after an anonymous tip off a couple of months later.
2 meters away from the frame.
2 meters away from the frame. It was in a tree. But they think it was Rose Dugdale who did it. But they couldn't prove it.
Yeah.
Until she robbed the next painting 2 months later, and they said,
"Oh, this is before."
This was actually before. This was in 1974. So again, it's just pure conjecture. But
I know I've seen enough, like gritty cop films and stuff, when like a case is run dry, and they're chasing down leads, and they find like the old cop who was on it 50 years ago, and they're like, let me buy you a drink, ask you a few questions, see if anything shakes loose, and they're like, who did you like for it? And then they'd be like, Rose Dugdale. I always knew 100%. Dugdale. Could never prove it, but I knew. And then
I heard it from a Roma soothsayer.
Yeah, did you ever hear of the soothsayer?
Do you know Nella Jones?
Let me see your tea leaves.
But this Nella Jones character actually, she started a long career helping the police find stolen art.
No way.
It's a bit mad. Again, that's probably about the height of conjecture.
Yeah.
Someone checking your palm.
That's
saying, you probably did it.
So, yeah. So I think you initially suggested this as an idea for an episode.
Well, I'd heard about this Roma lady.
Yeah.
Originally, who tracked down the painting frame, but not the painting. I thought that's pretty unusual.
That's pretty good going still though. I'd be happy enough with that.
That's like finding your wallet, but all the money and cards have been taken out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's like if it's a magic trick and you the 8 of hearts and they pull out the 8 of diamonds. You're like, fuck, this is not far wrong.
Also, I imagine the frame for a painting like that.
Yeah.
Probably pretty good.
Pretty good.
Probably worth a few quid as well.
Yeah.
Because they were all in their original frames. These Vermeers.
I think the ones from the Boston robbery are ripped out of. I think the original frames are still in the museum in Boston. They were ripped out of them. Because even though they had an hour and a half to saunter around.
That's a real shame.
It is, but they've left the frames up as a sort of one day they'll be back.
Empty frames
Yeah.
hanging.
Yeah. Even that's art nowadays.
That's modern art.
That's modern art.
Put a screen in there with the painting on it.
Yeah, you could just, you just buy a poster and put it up there. Yeah.
Don't tell anyone.
No. It's back.
You can only see it from a distance.
Yeah. Here's another shit drawing of a woman with a loot or whatever the fuck. 200 million. But, is there anything you want to plug, Ronan?
Not really, no. If people have YouTube, if they have access to YouTube somehow, maybe they can check out the channel, Shite Guides, the world's shittest travel show. And you can learn more about Vermeer, more conjecture. I go to some of the places where Vermeer painted his paintings.
There's more conjecture to another one of his paintings.
Actually, because all the buildings have since been knocked down. So all I can do is stand on the spot where the building he painted used to be.
Yeah.
But it is exciting stuff.
It is.
But Shite Guides, the world's shittest travel show.
Yeah. And you did a lot of stuff on... I think that's how I found you initially, was looking at stuff for the 1690 King Billy and the Dutch Reformation. I think you did a bit about the man who was... the guy that Billy took over the Netherlands from, and he went to pick up his brother from prison, and the lads
The De Witte brothers.
The Witte brothers,
yeah. The two most powerful men in the Netherlands in 1674, the year of disaster, when the Dutch were fighting the British and the Spanish and a couple of other lads. A wild mob beat to death and eat the two most powerful men in the Netherlands. And then I very tenuously linked that to an IRA attack on the same street in the 70s.
That's the sort of nonsense we'd be up to.
It's absolute nonsense.
That's great.
It has absolutely no basis in any kind of reality.
Amazing.
Now, there's no hard evidence for this, but what if this happened?
They did happen on the same street.
They did happen on the same street, yeah. Yeah, he just showed up. They told him to come down and pick up his brother from jail, pay the bail, and we'll let you off.
Yeah.
And just rip them apart.
Yeah, and their penises are still missing. They never recovered the penises.
Yeah.
The two most powerful penises in the country, in the Netherlands, the Dutch Republic.
If we have your license and permission, we might play the episode out with one of your songs from the EP.
Oh,
just
lovely.
Stick a snippet up there.
The minimum, I keep forgetting. Yeah, that's the thing I have. The minimum wage mixtape.
Yeah.
By me, the delivery boy,
and
my partner in crime, D Beats.
Yes.
It's a story of a day in the life of a man who had nothing and lost it. It's number one in my charts. Anyway,
it's number one in our hearts. It's class. Right. Good luck.
See you later.
Chapter.
Oh, hello. I got 3 housemates, but I don't live in a tree. I'm just poor as fuck and I'm down on my luck and I'm 33. Oh, dearie me. I got 3 housemates and that's too many for me. In this day and age to be a minimum wage when you're 33. And the third, oh my word, have you heard? I've been slaving away and I've been saving seven trying to make my way. If I miss this day, then I won't get paid, and I'll be sitting in the dark of the bed. Okay. I've been slaving away, and I've been saving, trying to make my way. If I miss this day, then I won't get paid, and I'll be sitting at the dark of the bed with no tape. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, shimmy, yeah. Man, I've been singing for my dinner on the minimum wage. Oh, it's heinous every day, you good gracious. The shite lifestyles of the poor and aimless. There's no brave face, no fake bravado. On the road to Damascus, a desperado broke down on the old road to El Dorado. Man, I knew I should have never had that second avocado. I got 3 housemates, but I don't live in a tree. I'm just poor as fuck, and I'm down on my luck, and I'm 33. Oh, dearie me. I got 3 housemates, and that's too many for me. In this day and age, to be on minimum wage when you're 33. And the third, oh my word, have you heard? I've been slaving away, and I've been saving, trying to make my way. If I miss this day, then I won't get paid, and I'll be sitting at the dock of the bay with no tape. I got 3 housemates, but that don't matter to me, cause one of these days I'll be down in the grave, it'll be only me. Yeah, that'll be nice.